What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video I'm going to be covering the Codebreaker engine that I think personally has a lot of potential in future combo decks just because of how powerful these cards really are. Just for them being commons is actually insane. But before we begin, I just want to ask you guys to please remember, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this, and it would really help the channel out, and I'd really appreciate it. But without any further ado, let's just hop straight in. So what actually do these cards do? Let's start with Codebreaker 0 Day. So Codebreaker 0 Day says all link monsters pointing to this card lose 1000 attack except Codebreaker link monsters. If a Codebreaker link monster is on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is on the field, destroy this card. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add one Codebreaker 0 Day from your deck to your hand. So at first glance, it honestly doesn't seem all that great at all. Like, you might be wondering why you'd even consider a card like this, because it pretty much just seems like a brick. Battle destruction effects aren't really that great right now, and the fact that it just kills itself while if one of your link monsters dies, Codebreaker link monsters dies, it just doesn't seem that good. So now we'll actually look at the link monsters to see why we play a card like this in the engine. So the next card is going to be Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. It's a link 2 monster that only requires 2 effect monsters, and when it's special summoned, if it's co-linked, you can special summon one Codebreaker 0 Day, so this guy, from your hand, deck, or graveyard to any zone a link monster points to. And during the end phase, if this card was in the graveyard because it was destroyed while in your possession by an opponent's card and sent there this turn, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field, and it has a hard once return clause and everything. So right away, you can see that if you special summon this to any zone a monster is co-linked to, you get a special summon a free body from your deck, hand, or graveyard. So if you do end up drawing Codebreaker 0 Day, it's really not the end of the world because you can just summon it from your hand. So that's all well and good, but why don't we take a look at Codebreaker Virus Berserker, and this is where I think the engine gets really crazy. So Codebreaker Virus Berserker is a link 3 monster that requires 2+ monsters, including a Codebreaker monster. So when it's special summoned, and if it's co-linked, you can special summon up to 2 Codebreaker monsters from your hand and or graveyard to any zone a link monster points to. And during your main phase, you can destroy spells and traps your opponent controls up to the number of link Codebreaker monsters on the field. So right away, we can see there are 2 insane effects on this. So when it's co-linked, you gotta pretty much bring Monster Reborn, the monsters you use to link summon this. Why that's so good is because it's a link 3. It helps you make a card like Access Code Talker, Appaloosa just right away. Like that's just scratching the surface. Plus, its other effect gets so much value if you're able to bring both of the Codebreakers back. If you have the link arrows for that, you can bring both the Codebreakers back, and its effect non-targeting destroys 3 spells and traps on your opponent controls, which is just pretty crazy. So, of course, this may seem too good to be true. And it does require a certain amount of setup, however, because you need these to be co-linked to get their effects. So the most common way you're going to be doing this in a combo deck is if you set up your own arrows with a card like maybe Appaloosa or Skull Dread or something, just to have the maximum amount of arrows pointing down. So if you have a card like Appaloosa here, you can special summon the Codebreaker Virus Swordsman here, special summon 0 Day, link off into Berserker. Berserker brings back these 2 to the zones your Appaloosa points to. So it's really good because it turns 2 monsters into essentially 6 link materials worth of monsters, which is just super powerful considering you only have to play 1 Garnet in your deck, and even if you draw that Garnet, it's not your combo is still able to happen. But the reason I still feel like it's really good, even though it's kind of like quote-unquote situation where you have to already be set up with your board, it actually works when you co-link it with your opponent's monsters. So if your opponent leaves something like Nightmare Phoenix, Appaloosa on the board, like they're giving you an arrow that you can pretty much use for your Codebreaker stuff. And even like if you think about it, even if that's the only arrow you have to play, you special summon your Virus Swordsman, link off these 2 into Berserker. Berserker brings back a card like Swordsman, and then you can pop 2 spells and traps, and then link off into an Access Code Talker or something. And Access Code Talker, of course, will gain the attack. And it's also important to note, like I didn't mention at the beginning, these are really big monsters too. Like a link 2 monster with 2300 attack, I'm pretty sure, like just in terms of raw attack without any modifiers, I'm pretty sure that's the highest attack points on a link 2 monster, which is pretty insane. 2800 on a link 3 monster is nothing to scoff at either. And it's also, I guess, important to note that these are actually warrior cards, and dark monsters. I would say the dark monsters are more important than the warrior part, because the dark typing allows you to go into a combo that like the Phantom Knights, where you can make a card like Phantom Knights and Rusty Bardiche, because once you make the Swordsman brings out 0 Day, and then the Berserker Reborns everything. You have the link materials needed for Rusty Bardiche, and Rusty Bardiche on its own is already a very, very insane card. So it's important to note, if you only have one arrow to work with, once again, you can still do the Rusty Bardiche combo. So I know we saw this in like some Goki decks before as a good extender to go into after you make your Appaloosa, just because it allows you to special summon all these free link materials, and there are a lot of powerful link monsters that can act as very disruptive effects for your opponent. For example, you can make, like I mentioned before, Appaloosa, you can make access code to kill them. But I also mentioned you can make a card like Rusty, and you can make a card like Verte Anaconda, which is just super powerful, considering like these, you only need to take up like these 2 spaces in your extra deck and play 1 brick in your main deck to have access to all of this. You have access to an OTK, you have access to spell and trap removal in this, you have access to pretty much any link monster possible, because you have like 6 materials worth of link monsters or links. It's actually incredible. But that's gonna do it for the discussion I have on this topic. I feel like, well, let me know what you guys think of this engine below. Of course, it's not gonna be good in every deck, because you do kind of need to play a deck that can link someone a lot and put out a lot of arrows that allow you to co-link your Codebreaker monsters. But if you have the opportunity to co-link these, you'll quickly see how powerful an engine like this really can be. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and that's gonna do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed once again, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.